Hi, y'all, and welcome to the Homemaker
and the Apprentice.
So, I hope you guys are off to a good day. It's beautiful here finally. We've had a lot of snow.
Yes, the snow was an unexpected surprise.
It was. And
so that was good.
Great. But it also coincided with more sickness at our house. So fun.
We've not been able to get out of that rut for 3 months now.
No, not 3 months. Oh my goodness. It was before Thanksgiving. It was right before Thanksgiving. But yeah, this time mom got the stomach flu. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so the snow and ice was enjoyable as I viewed it from the couch. But
you came outside a tiny bit.
I did tiny bit.
Good to see it.
But it was gorgeous to have. It felt like we have all the stuff to put up in the attic from Christmas because we kind of got it down, but then I ran out of energy and stuff, and so it's all sitting in boxes and everything ready to go up. And as the snow was coming down, we're like, oh, it feels like it's time to put up the Christmas tree and the Christmas decorations, but we had just taken them down. But anyway, better late than never to have some winter wonderland around here. So we were thankful for that.
Well, the birds have been enjoying it too.
Yeah, so they have.
It's so sweet.
But before we go any further, we want to remind you to please like and share and subscribe if you are enjoying this at all. And please leave comments. We would like to know what is helpful about what we're talking about, what you'd like to hear more about, any of those kind of things. What you learned or anything. Yeah. Or anything. Yeah. Anything.
Yeah. Tell us what the weather is outside.
Yeah.
It's cool. Been seeing blizzards all over the place.
Yes. Yeah. If we still lived in Tennessee, which is where Audrey and Ethan, my older son, were born, they got a lot of snow. So we didn't get that. We just got more ice.
We got a sprinkle.
And a sprinkling. And it was mostly just ice snow. Yes. So yeah, it didn't really count as much. For those of you that got the good stuff, enjoy it. Hopefully you're enjoying it. But you might be ready for it to go too. Like here, everybody was out today. It is the first beautiful, sunny, warm day, and every single person, I think, is gone from their house and driving around. And the grocery store had no buggies left. I mean, it's that kind of day. So if you've ever lived anywhere that does have a lot of snow, I remember those days there too. I grew up a little bit in Massachusetts, and that was definitely the case there. When it was time to get out, you were excited to get out because we need a break. So anyway.
And you can actually drive.
Yes, and you can actually drive. Well, yeah. People in a lot of places that live north of here actually know how to drive in winter weather, but not so much down here. And not so much in Tennessee. When I first moved there, I'd moved down from Massachusetts and they didn't know how to drive on it either. So
put some chains on your tires.
Yeah, there chains, or just being able to learn how to turn into the spin and all those kind of things that you don't learn when you don't ever have to drive on it. There's no reason really to learn it until you have to drive on it. So anyway, we were just gonna do some quicker. We thought we might do some quicker, just more kind of fun nuggets of information that we had thought about. And so the one that we were going to talk about today is, how do you feed your family well? What does that look like? And do you have to cook everything from scratch? Do you have to, be a epic homesteading kind of person in order to be a good homemaker? Do those things correlate to each other in a 1-to-1 ratio kind of thing? And that's the fallacy I think we fall into a lot as homemakers, that we start getting overwhelmed by, if I'm at home, then I need to justify this and this and this by making my own bread and, doing my own sauerkraut and doing, whatever the things are for you. But you start piling on all these duties to you that can become very overwhelming, and they all take a lot of knowledge base to be able to get there in the first place. So what is a good way to feed your family starting out, and if that is just you and your spouse, because I fully believe that you can be a homemaker just to your spouse, just with your spouse. It doesn't have to involve children. And so what are some fun, easy things you can do to make that life, that transition, an enjoyable one without having to go all overboard? Because a lot of the channels that Audrey and I have watched over the years a little bit, they start making you feel less than really quickly because you don't know how to do, okay, now I make my own bread, now I make my own sauerkraut, now I need to make my own candles, now I need to make my own paper. I mean, where does it stop? And
then I need all this land, and then
and I have to grow my own chickens. Like, you know, I mean, I have to grow my own chickens to eat and for the eggs, you know, like people do them for both. And so, you start, and then I have to have my own cow, and I have to have, you know, those things are great.
And then your house has to be clean.
Yes.
And you have to homeschool your kids.
Right.
Definitely homeschool.
Yes.
But
all for the homeschooling.
Yes.
But it just can become daunting really quickly. And so it all gets lumped in together, you know, homesteading, homemaking, you know, just the whole idea becomes really inflated, and it can be kind of depressing as somebody starting out like you, and even me, like I've talked about it a couple of times on here, you know, starting out with homeschooling, that's just one facet, and you get overwhelmed really quick. And then if you're just making bread is a hard thing to learn. And if you don't know how to do that one well, and then you're still also trying to do all these other things well, and come up with from scratch cooking for your dinners and your lunches and all this stuff, it just can be really overwhelming. So we wanted to bring a little bit of grace, a little bit of levity, a little bit of enjoyment of how to think about providing a good way for your family to eat without feeling overwhelmed.
I was literally just in the kitchen a couple of mornings ago, making muffins. And so I had this one chocolate chip muffin recipe, and then the double chocolate chip muffin recipe took 3 times as long. I'm like, there's absolutely no way that I can do this while doing something else, and then trying to bake something else on the other side of that too.
Yeah.
So,
and it's, I mean, any
trying to do that from scratch
person who's tried to do, you know, Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or stuff with your family, and just trying to get everything out there all at the same time, all warm, you know, all cooked at different temperatures, all of that stuff. It's hard to do. And to think about doing that every day on a consistent basis, without any kind of ramp up period towards learning this stuff is just, I'm trying to think of another adjective other than daunting, but that's the one that just comes up a lot when I think of that. You know, how do you keep all these plates spinning all the time? And so, if you're trying to do that, and you have a baby that needs to eat in the middle of that, and then you have, you know, a toddler who wants you to play with them or read them a book, or, you know, like, how do you balance all these things? And so really quick, we'll get to the eating part. And what I was telling Audrey, as I said, is this personality plays into this hugely. Again, I am not a meal planner person. I don't meal plan. I have tried it through the years. It does not work for my personality. It doesn't work for how we live. It doesn't, you know, it isn't a good fit for me. It feels constraining and depressing and oppressive to me to have to be like, okay, I'm writing out my whole meal plan for 2 weeks or whatever, and this is what I'm going to buy, and this is what I'm going to do, and I have all these ingredients, and then to throw in on top of that, we have a lot of allergies in our family. We have tons of food allergies. We have you know, just the seasonal allergies and stuff, but then we have just not necessarily allergies, but things that some of us can't eat and other ones of us can. And so my cooking has had to go through so many evolutions from the time that our oldest was younger, because he was allergic to milk. So, and not just milk, but whey and casein, the proteins in milk. So you start looking at labels and see what has whey or casein in there, and it's in so many products that you're like, why do they put milk in things that I don't even know that they needed milk in there? And so I had to go through all that.
Soy.
And then that was the only option at first. Then that was the only option was soy, and so I was like, I'm going to use soy, and not as many of the warnings had come out. So I started using some soy stuff until I started reading up on that. Then coconut was about the only other option, so I started using that for a while. So I have had to go through a huge change in how I can cook. And then as all of the kiddos have grown, and as me and my husband have gotten older, some of the things that we can tolerate are different too. And so it just constantly keeps changing. So meal planning for me is really just not a good thing for my personality. It's not a good thing for how our family lives. You know, I did it for a while, and then you come in and you're like, oh, we're supposed to have tacos tonight. Nobody feels like tacos tonight. Do you switch a night? You know, do you switch a night out? But if you'd already committed and you pulled out the meat for that, and then you don't have another night's stuff ready, do you go ahead and make the tacos? And everybody's just kind of like, well, I don't like that, because I like us to enjoy our food. That the whole part of eating to me is the enjoyment of not only making it, but consuming it. And so, yeah, filling bellies is a great idea. But I also want to make it something that seems very palatable for that day, right? And sometimes you're like, totally, yes, tacos sound awesome, and that's great. And then other days you're like, no tacos. I need something a little more bland or whatever. Because you don't always know what happens throughout the day or what bellies are doing. If there's sickness coming or sickness leaving or just all kinds of things.
Once you start making plans, you get a lot of wrenches thrown into them.
You do, yes. And so, maybe Audrey, that's what I told her. I said, maybe you will enjoy doing the meal planning thing, and maybe it will really work well for you. But for me, it has not worked. But what has worked, and this is where I come back to, is I know you'll hear that, keep a lot of staples around, keep a lot of staples of things. And so my staples are different than other people's, and that's what you have to find for your family. What is the staples that your family can do? We love dinner sausage around here, and I can take dinner sausage and I can make all kinds of meals out of it. I can make skillet meals. We can just do dinner sausage as the main course with other stuff. We can, I make all different kinds of skillet meals. So I can do one with pasta. I can do one with rice. I can do one with all other kinds of veggies and stuff. And they're all, and they're all, casseroles with it. And so to me, that's one of those things that I keep a lot of. I always keep ground beef cooked and frozen, so I can just pull out as much as I need, already crumbled up, already ready to go. So if I need to add it to a soup or
it comes in handy a ton.
It does. Tons of eggs. We always have tons of eggs because we always have those around. But you can cook up really filling
18-pack ones in the fridge right now.
Yeah. But you can cook up a ton of filling meals with not tons of ingredients if you just know how to start changing them out and adding things in and using what you have in the fridge, like going in there, I have some rice left over from yesterday and I have some other stuff, so I can combine those two things and then add this other third or fourth ingredient, and we come up with a really good meal without having to stress about it. Yeah. So that's where I have ended up now after 23 years of being a wife and 21 years of being a mom, is to just keep a lot of those staples on hand. Keep a few things of crescent rolls in the fridge if you want to do pigs in a blanket really quick at the last minute, if you need to do something like that. And we don't eat a lot of processed stuff. We really don't. I don't buy a lot of boxed food. So it's more whenever we go and vegetables are on sale or whatever. Like today, we just got 2 of the produce bags from our grocery store that they get rid of the stuff that's kind of going out. And we got 2. It's still perfectly fine. I got 2 huge bags of yellow squash. So I will take those all up and I'll chop them all up and they're ready to go. I put them in the freezer, and then I can just pull that bag out and pull out however much we need and use it to add a casserole. And so you find ways to save money really well doing that by being able to be not so fixated on exactly what you're going to do. I know people can do meal planning and do it really well on a budget. But like I said, it just doesn't work for me. So I find other ways to save money by buying those kind of things when I find them. And I have, tons of onions cut up. I have tons of zucchini cut up. I, will buy all these things when I see them on clearance or on a really good price. And then we just take care of them all. We buy the apples when they're all on clearance. I think, what was that in the fall? We got like 8 bags of those that were on the clearance rack. And so I made tons of applesauce, apple pies. Yeah, and then I just cut up a lot of them and have them in the freezer so that I can make something later. But that's how I do meal planning in a way that works well for all of us, because we can kind of go, hey, we're feeling a little more Italian-y tonight, yes. or we're feeling a little bit more, we just want American food, like we want hamburgers and stuff, and so we can pull those out. We always have hamburger patties cooked whenever my husband does the grill for anything. We usually put on a bunch of hamburger patties, and then I just freeze them individually in the freezer, so we can pull out 1, 2, 5, 6, however many we need for people to be able to have for a meal that day. So
hamburgers are a huge head around.
Yeah, they are always. They're always an easy, good, filling food. whether or not you use buns.
Yeah.
Some of us don't use buns.
Some of us. Some of us.
Some of us, yes. But others of us like the buns a lot and want all the condiments on them. So that's why it works really well. And you can change them up. You could put bacon on there. You could, put chili on there. You can do all kinds of things. So you find ways to have basic things and then let other people add to it what they want. And so, those, pancakes, if you have to, they can be a great dinner sometimes. And it's sometimes the thing that you need to do. And that's okay. Pull it out. Make pancakes. Throw the bacon and the eggs on the side too if you can, so you're not getting just all carbs and you're giving your family something a little bit more stick to their ribs kind of stuff to last for longer. But just my encouragement is always to be flexible with it. Start learning how to put things together. And I'm really bad at following recipes. They're not my thing. My husband and Audrey probably like recipes a little bit more. They like to follow it, but I've been cooking long enough that I can intuit. I need.
We'll just put a little bit of this in here.
Yeah,
just put a little bit of this.
Right.
In here,
and I don't measure.
And that too. Yeah.
And so
she doesn't measure.
I don't measure anything. Yeah. Which doesn't come out from me as well when I'm making a different kind of bread, because you do have to measure that one. There is chemistry involved in cooking. Yeah. And I sometimes try to ignore that, and that hasn't always worked out well. But if you just have in your bag of tricks a few things that you can pull out and that you can start always being able to mix together and try different ways of making them into a yummy thing for your family, then it is a really good way to go about meal preparation. And it doesn't all have to be from scratch. You can make a really big, nice skillet meal, and that's all your family needs. You don't need to have 5, 6, 7 dishes. I did, marry into a family where that was very common, to have lots and lots of different dishes on the table. I was raised pretty much the same way, not as many dishes, but a lot of dishes on the table. And as my husband and I have gotten older and gotten more, I don't know, less picky on some things, he is okay with it and I'm okay with it. I don't feel less than for not having 6 or 7 different things on the table. And that was a big adjustment and of huge benefit to me as a homemaker and as just a mom, to be able to say, okay, I don't have to think about so many different dishes out there. I can think about 3 dishes or something, and that will save you a ton of time and energy, because you're not having to cook things at all different temperatures and then have them all out there nice and hot. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a fun thing that we'd been talking a lot about, because I had each of the bigger kids plan a meal a week when they were in school. They were supposed to each do a meal a week, and it was to try and help them learn new things that they would be able to do. We didn't always succeed at getting that meal.
It was kind of more like pulling teeth.
It was a little bit, but they both did learn a lot of good stuff from that. So I know that my son wouldn't starve if he has to cook for himself, and Audrey is taken on learning more of it on her own now too, and I can make muffins. Yeah, well, I think it's more. There's stuff that just is more enjoyable to just get in there and do by yourself and be able to have the time to do it. And that's part of what as a mom, I like to sometimes just be able to be in there cooking by myself. And, when you have little kids, they want to come help, and that's all sweet and good, but it's not the same thing as just being able to
the counter, sweet
cook the meal. And so you have to enjoy the season that you're in, enjoy it, realize it'll change. But I do know for her that it's something that she enjoys, to just be able to get in there and do her thing and ask me a question if she needs to, but also not have to not have to have me looking over her shoulder or anything, telling her, yes, do this, don't do that. So anyway, I think that's a pretty good synopsis of what we were trying to,
because cooking should be something fun. It doesn't have to be fun all the time, but it should be pretty enjoyable.
Well, yeah, even if the cooking's not fun, it's all in the idea of, this is how I love my family. This is how I care for my family. I get to get to care for them not only in their souls and their minds, but I get to actually help fill their bellies with things that are good. And that is a blessing. That's a gift that we get to have. That isn't something we should discount as like, oh, it's such a hard chore. I mean, it is not enjoyable to always try and come up with like, what are we going to eat tonight? And so that's where I understand the value of meal planning. If it works for you, it's great. But for me, it just has not been the avenue that's worked the best. And maybe it's because I'm not disciplined enough. I don't know. But I really am well disciplined in lots of other ways. But that one seems to elude me. If that is the case, then I guess I will remain undisciplined regarding that one. So anyway,
I think you're pretty good. You're good.
We always have food on our table.
Everybody's
always fed.
Yes,
and it's always good. And so yeah, we don't have to plan it out too far. Just find good things that you can always have to draw from and pull from. Find what your staples are that work for your family, and then be able to pull them out. Pull the rice out and pull the pasta out one night, and and then find things that can go with it and use up what you have, not for waste. So yeah, try and use up everything that you've got and mix things together. Try them. You never know what things you might really like, except for don't ever use French vanilla creamer in place of regular creamer. That was my one really disastrous cooking experience.
I don't remember a single other thing but that
one was horrible. So never replace French vanilla creamer into something that should have plain. Yeah, especially if it's supposed to be savory and not sweet. If it was sweet, it probably would have been okay.
It would have been okay. But maybe.
But a quiche, yeah, I think it was probably totally fine then, because you're just adding vanilla to it. But with something that was supposed to be a dinner quiche, French vanilla was really nasty in there. Yeah, so much that it was unedible. Yeah, so that was
we still had to eat it.
Yeah, well, I did not eat it. Yes, but yes, waste not, want not goes back to that. So you guys, hopefully there was something fun and enjoyable in there today.
So whether you do meal planning or not.
Yes, whether you do meal planning or not. And if you do meal planning, maybe you can give me some tips on how you do it better that doesn't seem so constricting to me. And maybe there'll be a way that I can incorporate it more into my family. Or that it will be a good thing for other apprentices out there to be able to learn from how you do it well. So, yeah, you guys, again, remember to like, share and subscribe. And we hope that you're off to a good evening. We're going to be heading in and getting some dinner going here in a little while. And yeah, may you guys have a great day. And we'll see you next time. Deo Valente.
Deo Valente.